The forest whispered of old wounds. Legends clung to the trees like shadows that never faded. Tales passed down in hushed voices around fire pits when the moon was fat and unblinking. They said the goddess blessed wolves with fated mates, threads of silver spun from soul to soul. But when those threads were cut by pride, fear, or cruelty, the bond did not simply vanish. It rotted. It cursed. The first wolf to reject her mate had cried out beneath a blood moon, her heart torn in two. Her pack fell into ruin soon after, her mate driven mad, his wolf devouring him from within. Since then, the stories warned, to deny fate is to deny life itself. But still, pride was a poison stronger than destiny. On a night soaked in crimson light, the prophecy was carved into the world. A girl will spit venom at the one her soul already claims. She will hide what cannot be hidden, and when the truth rises, the pack will tremble at the cost of her defiance. The river carried the words away, but the forest remembered. And tonight, under the glow of the gathering moon, that prophecy stirred again. The courtyard of the pack house shimmered with silver lanterns. Every wolf gathered in anticipation. The annual moon gathering was meant to be a celebration, a renewal of bonds, a moment for the goddess to reveal fated ties. But no one expected her to step forward with fire in her eyes. Lyra's voice rang sharp across the assembly. "I reject you." Gasps broke through the crowd like a wave striking stone. Heads turned, jaws slack. Even the elders flinched. To reject an alpha, publicly, it was unthinkable. Across from her, Kyle the alpha himself stood frozen. His jaw tightened, and the lantern light carved his expression into steel. His wolf growled so loudly in his chest it vibrated through the earth. "You reject me?" His voice was low, dangerous. "I do." Lyra forced her tone to stay cold, though her heart was a storm inside her ribs. Every fiber of her being screamed against the lie. The bond pulled at her, aching, begging her to take the words back. But she could not. She must not. The pack erupted in whispers. "She's insane. She'll doom us all. She was never worthy of him." Kael's eyes, gold and furious, bore into her. "You'll regret this, Lyra." She lifted her chin, though her hands trembled out of sight. "Perhaps. But I won't be your weakness." The silence that followed was jagged, cruel. She could feel his wolf battering at the invisible tether between them, the mate bond howling in pain. And still, she held the mask of defiance. The alpha turned away at last, his cloak snapping behind him as he strode into the shadows. The crowd parted like water, none daring to stop him. But even as he vanished, his presence clung to her skin like fire, because what no one else knew, what she could never confess, was that he was already hers, her fated mate, the one she loved more than her own breath, and she had just destroyed him in front of everyone. The rejection still hung in the air like smoke after a fire. By morning, the pack house buzzed with poisoned whispers. Wolves clustered in corners, speaking in voices that carried just enough to sting her ears. "She rejected the alpha. Did you hear?" She spat in Fate's face. "Maybe she's cursed." Lyra walked through the hall with her shoulders squared, each step deliberate, though every word scraped across her like claws. She would not let them see the tremor in her chest, the way her wolf whimpered against the bond's unrelenting pull. At the training fields, eyes followed her. Some were sharp with anger, others wide with awe, as if her defiance had sparked some dangerous curiosity. A few whispered, "Brave." But most whispered, "Fool." Her closest friend, Ellen, slipped up beside her, voice low. "You're bleeding inside, aren't you?" Lyra didn't answer. She couldn't. Her throat was too tight. Ellen touched her arm. "The bond doesn't let go, Lyra. Not even if you pretend." "I'm not pretending," she forced out. "I made my choice." But even as she said it, her gaze betrayed her. Across the field, Kale was there towering, commanding, leading his warriors with sharp authority. He never looked at her, not once, yet she felt his presence as keenly as if the air itself bent around him. The ache spread through her chest, an invisible tether yanking tighter with every breath he took. She had rejected him. Yes, but the bond didn't care. It only demanded, only burned. And still, she held her mask. Because the truth that she belonged to him already, body and soul, was a truth she could never allow to surface. The whispers swelled again around her, cutting, judging, never ceasing. And in the heart of it all, she wondered how long she could keep this secret before it devoured her whole. The days after the gathering blurred together, but one thing never changed his eyes. No matter where she went, she could feel them. In the sparring rings, where she threw herself into combat drills until her muscles screamed. In the dining hall, where she forced down food that tasted of ash. Even in the woods, when she thought she'd finally escaped the suffocating press of the pack house, his presence haunted her. Cale never spoke to her. He didn't have to. His gaze said everything. During training, she caught him across the field, instructing the younger warriors. His voice carried calm, commanding, threaded with authority. Yet every so often, his attention shifted, golden eyes locking on her with unyielding intensity. She tried to ignore it, tried to pretend she didn't feel her heartbeat stumble every time his stare found her. But her wolf betrayed her, tail twitching, ears straining toward him even when she forced her body to face away. That night, she slipped into the courtyard for air, the moonlight painting her skin silver. She thought she was alone, until his voice cut through the silence. "You think rejection erases what we are?" Her breath caught. Slowly, she turned. Cale stood there, shadows clinging to his broad shoulders, his expression carved from stone. "I think," she said carefully, "that rejection is freedom." He stepped closer, eyes glinting. "No, it's chains. You feel them, don't you? Every hour, every breath." The truth of it echoed through her veins, sharp and undeniable, but she forced her face to stay calm. "You're imagining things, Alpha." For a moment, his wolf surged through, gold flaring brighter in his irises. His voice dropped low, edged with a growl. "My wolf doesn't imagine. He knows what's his." Her heart stuttered. The air between them pulsed with something dangerous longing, fury, inevitability. She opened her mouth to answer, but footsteps broke the spell. A pair of warriors entered the courtyard, and Cale turned sharply, mask snapping back into place. He left without another word, cloak whipping behind him, but his eyes, they never let her go. The night was heavy, pressing down like a weight she could no longer carry. Lyra sat alone in her room, shutters drawn tight against the world. The faint glow of the moon slipped through the cracks, silvering the floorboards, a reminder of the bond she had tried so desperately to sever. Her chest ached. The rejection hadn't silenced the mate pull, it had sharpened it, made every breath feel like defiance against the goddess herself. Each time Cale was near, the tether burned hotter, searing into her bones, whispering his name where no one could hear. She pressed her palm to her skin just below her collarbone, where the bond scarred invisible but real. To anyone else it was nothing, but she felt it the pulse of destiny, the curse of her bloodline. A memory flickered, her mother's trembling voice, years ago warning her by candlelight, "If you claim him, the curse will awaken. Our line was bound by prophecy, Lyra. Any mate we take will bleed for it, and the stronger the bond, the greater the cost." Her wolf whimpered inside her, restless, aching for the alpha who was both salvation and doom. Lyra curled her knees to her chest, whispering into the silence, "I can't let him die for me. I won't." The truth was poison on her tongue, a truth she could never confess. If Cale knew, if anyone knew, the pack would see her not as brave or foolish but as a curse wearing flesh. A sudden knock rattled the door. Her heart jumped, pulse quickening. "Lyra?" Ellen's voice came softly through the wood. "You've locked yourself away for hours. Please, let me in." Lyra squeezed her eyes shut, gripping the bond mark beneath her hand. She could not let even her best friend see how much it hurt, how deep the secret ran. "I'm fine," she forced out. "Go rest." But when Ellen's footsteps faded, The silence closed in again, and in that silence, her wolf whispered the truth she hated most. He is yours, and you are his. No curse can unmake it. Lyra buried her face in her hands, fighting the tears she could no longer hold back. The council chamber reeked of smoke and tension. Elders sat stiffly along the oak table, their gazes sharp as blades, but Cale barely saw them. His knuckles whitened against the wood as his temper surged, barely contained beneath his skin. She rejected me before the entire pack, he growled, voice low but shaking with restraint. And you expect me to do nothing? One of the older councilmen cleared his throat. It was humiliating, yes, but perhaps humiliating. Kael's laugh was sharp, humorless. His golden eyes flared, wolf bleeding through as his control snapped. She didn't just humiliate me, she humiliated this pack. An alpha rejected is a pack weakened. The words hung heavy, undeniable. Yet even as he spat them, his wolf clawed at him, restless, aching, demanding the one thing Cale could not have, because rejection hadn't freed him. It had chained him tighter. Every moment without her was fire in his veins. His wolf snarled, pacing, desperate to claim what was theirs, then banish her, another elder offered coldly. Cale's head snapped up. The thought alone sent a jagged pain lancing through him. Banish her? Cast her away? His wolf howled at the idea, fury rippling through him so strong the table shuddered beneath his hands. No, he said sharply. Too quickly. Too fiercely. He forced his tone back into command. She's no threat to the pack. But when the meeting ended and the council dispersed, Cale lingered in the shadows of the chamber, pressing his fists against his temples. She is my threat, he muttered. The wolf inside him snarled agreement. He could feel her even now, somewhere within the walls of the pack house, her presence tugging at him with every breath. No matter how many times he told himself he didn't want her, the truth gnawed at him like a wound that refused to heal. His wolf whispered a single, relentless truth. She is ours, and nothing will change that. Cale slammed his hand against the table, splintering the wood. Damn her! But in the echo of the crack, he knew he wasn't cursing her. He was cursing himself. The great hall was alive with chatter. Wolves gathered around long tables, feasting after the day's hunt. Lyra kept to the edges, her plate untouched, eyes fixed firmly on the wood grain beneath her fingers. She told herself she wouldn't look for him. She told herself she could sit there, invisible, while the pack laughed and clinked their goblets. But her wolf betrayed her. Her gaze drifted, drawn by a force she couldn't resist. And there he was, Cale, seated at the center, the firelight gilding his dark hair and sharpening the line of his jaw. He looked every inch the alpha broad, commanding, dangerous. And beside him, a she-wolf leaned in too close, her hand brushing his arm as she whispered something that made him smirk. The sound of her laughter cut through Lyra like a blade. Her grip tightened around her goblet until the wood creaked. Heat flared in her chest, wild and sharp, a jealousy she had no right to feel. She was the one who had rejected him. She was the one who swore she didn't want him. But her wolf snarled at the sight of another touching him, the bond pulsing like fire under her skin. Ellen nudged her gently. Careful, she murmured. You're staring too hard. Lyra snapped her gaze down, cheeks burning. I don't care. She lied. Across the hall, Cale's smirk vanished. He glanced up, and his eyes locked on hers with brutal precision. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that tether, the invisible string that burned between them, raw and undeniable. Her breath caught. She could almost feel him across the distance, his wolf surging toward hers, but then he looked away, tilting his head back toward the she-wolf at his side. His smile returned, sharper now, deliberate. Lyra's wolf howled inside her, furious at the rejection she herself had chosen. She pushed back from the table, her chair scraping the stone floor. I need air, she whispered, though her lungs were already on fire, and as she fled into the night, the tether only pulled tighter, threatening to strangle her with every step. The forest was too quiet. Moonlight filtered through the trees, silvering the leaves, but Lyra's instincts prickled. She had slipped away to clear her head, to outrun the bond clawing at her chest. Instead, she found herself pacing the dark edges of the woods, wolf senses on high alert. A twig snapped. Her wolf snarled a warning just as shadows surged from the underbrush. Rogues, 3 of them, eyes glowing feral, jaws dripping with saliva. Lyra barely shifted in time, fur rippling across her skin as her bones cracked and reshaped. Her wolf hit the ground running, teeth bared, fury unleashed. She lunged, slamming into the first rogue with bone-crushing force. But she was outnumbered. Claws tore her flank, blood slicking her silver fur. She staggered, growl choked into a whine. The second rogue circled for her throat and was ripped away in a blur of dark fur and golden eyes. Kale. The alpha's wolf towered, black as night, his snarl shaking the trees. He tore into the rogue with merciless precision, his power radiating like a storm. The third enemy hesitated, but Kale was already there, crushing its windpipe in a snap of bone and blood. The clearing fell silent, save for Lyra's ragged breaths. Her wolf limped, bleeding, trembling from the fight, and then Kale was there, shifting back into his human form in a storm of energy, crouching beside her. "Lyra," his voice was raw, threaded with something dangerous. "You shouldn't be out here alone." Her wolf whimpered, shame twisting through her. She shifted back, her body naked under the moonlight, arms curling around herself. Kale's jaw tightened, his eyes burning with restrained hunger. He yanked his shirt over his head and threw it around her shoulders before she could protest. She tried to speak, but the words tangled in her throat. The bond throbbed between them, wild and undeniable, magnified by the brush with death. Kale's hand hovered near her cheek, trembling as if torn between pulling away and pulling her closer. "Next time," he said hoarsely, "I won't let you fight alone." Her heart betrayed her with a stuttered beat, and her wolf pressed closer, whispering the truth she refused to accept. She wasn't afraid of the rogues. She was afraid of him. The pack house was quiet by the time Kale found her again. Most of the wolves had retired to their rooms, the night still carrying the metallic tang of rogue blood on the wind. Lyra sat alone on the balcony, his shirt still draped over her shoulders, the fabric swallowing her frame. She hadn't returned it. She hadn't spoken since the fight. Kale stepped into the doorway, silent as a predator. For a long moment he only watched her, the curve of her spine, the way the moonlight touched her silver hair. The bond burned between them, tugging, demanding. Finally, he broke the silence. "Why did you reject me, Lyra?" Her body stiffened. She didn't look at him. "You wouldn't understand." He moved closer, the boards creaking under his weight. "Try me." Her breath caught. The air thickened, charged with the scent of him. Wolf, pine, smoke. Her heart betrayed her with its frantic rhythm, and she cursed it for being so loud. "You think I wanted to humiliate you?" she whispered, voice trembling with a secret she couldn't share. "You think I wanted this?" Kale's eyes narrowed. He crouched beside her, close enough that their knees brushed. "Then why?" She turned to him at last, her gaze raw with pain, with longing she couldn't cage. For one reckless heartbeat, she almost told him everything, the truth of her bloodline, the curse that bound her fate in ways no alpha could accept. But fear snapped her jaw shut. She forced her eyes away, nails digging into her palms. "Because you deserve someone who isn't broken." Kale's wolf surged at her words, furious at the lie. His hand shot out, gripping her chin, forcing her to face him. Golden eyes blazed into hers, stripping her soul bare. "You think I care about broken?" His voice was a growl, low and dangerous. "You are mine, and no rejection will change that." The bond flared, violent and intoxicating. Lyra's wolf howled inside her, clawing, desperate to surrender. Her lips parted. Then footsteps echoed down the hall. She shoved his hand away, rising quickly, the fragile moment shattering. "Don't," she whispered, fleeing before he could stop her. Kale stood frozen, chest heaving, his wolf raging. The truth was there, just out of reach, and he would tear down every wall she built until he found it. The next evening, the pack courtyard buzzed with anticipation. Torches burned along the stone paths, their flames restless in the autumn wind. Lyra kept to the edge, hoping to disappear into the shadows, but the whispers hadn't died. If anything, they had sharpened. He'll take another mate soon. She's ruined her chance. Better for the pack. Her jaw clenched. Each word was a dagger, but she forced her chin high, her mask unyielding. Then came a voice she loathed. Smooth, confident, too calculated. "Brothers, sisters," drawled Dorian, the beta's ambitious cousin. His dark hair gleamed in the firelight, his grin wide as he stepped into the center. "It seems our alpha has been rejected, but fate would never leave a leader without a mate. Perhaps destiny meant for him to look elsewhere." A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. Lyra's stomach twisted. She knew what he was doing. Dorian's gaze slid deliberately to her, holding too long, as if daring Kale to notice. Then, louder, he added, "A true mate wouldn't humiliate him in front of the pack. A true mate would stand proud at his side." Kale's presence struck like thunder. He strode forward, golden eyes burning, jaw tight with restrained fury. "Careful, Dorian." But Dorian only smirked, bowing mockingly. "I only speak for the good of the pack, Alpha. Perhaps a challenge under Blood Moon law would give clarity." The words dropped like a stone in water, sending shockwaves through every wolf present. A challenge meant battle. A challenge meant Kale's claim could be questioned. Lyra's heart lurched violently in her chest. She gripped the railing at her side, fingers numb. If Kale accepted and lost if Dorian proved, fate had erred. The bond tethering her to him would be torn apart. Kale didn't answer immediately. His eyes flicked, just once, toward Lyra. And though she kept her face still, inside she was burning, because she knew the truth. If he fought, she might be forced to reveal everything she had buried. The curse. The prophecy. The reason she had rejected him at all. The forest was silent, the only sound the crunch of leaves underfoot as Lyra walked deeper into the shadows. The torches and voices from the courtyard had long faded, but her chest still throbbed with the weight of Dorian's words. A challenge under Blood Moon law. If Kale accepted, if he lost, she could lose him forever. Lyra. Ellen's voice followed her, soft but steady. Her friend had always known when to follow, when to press past the walls Lyra built. "You're shaking. What's going on?" Lyra stopped at the edge of a clearing where moonlight spilled silver across the moss. She wrapped her arms around herself, as if she could hold the truth inside, but the dam was breaking. Her voice trembled. "You think I rejected him because I didn't want him. That's what everyone believes. But that's not the truth." Ellen's brows knitted. "Then why?" Lyra lifted her hand, pressing it against the mark etched faintly along her skin, a birthmark that wasn't just skin deep. A sign. A curse. "My bloodline is bound to a prophecy," she whispered, each word dragged from a wound that had never healed. "The witches said the daughter of my house would carry death to the one she loved most. That if I accepted my mate, my bond would destroy him." The words hung in the night like smoke. Ellen's eyes widened, disbelief and fear flickering together. "Lyra, you mean—" "Yes." Tears pricked her lashes. "KL, if I claim him, if I let the bond consume us, the prophecy will take him. He'll die because of me." Her knees buckled and she sank to the moss, trembling. "That's why I rejected him. Not because I don't feel it, Goddess. I feel it every breath. But I would rather break both our hearts than bury him in the ground." Silence stretched long between them, broken only by the rustle of trees. Finally, Ellen knelt, taking Lyra's hands firmly. "Secrets can kill faster than curses, Lyra. If Kale doesn't know the truth, how can he fight it?" The words cut deeper than any prophecy, because deep down, Lyra knew she couldn't keep running forever, and the blood moon was already rising. The woods were restless that night, branches rattling like bones as the wind carried the scent of storm. Lyra moved quickly, her cloak trailing behind her, heart pounding with the secret she had just confessed to Ellen. But she wasn't alone. Running again? His voice was a growl in the dark, low and dangerous, vibrating through her chest before she even saw him. Cale stepped out from the shadows, moonlight igniting the sharp lines of his face, his golden eyes blazing. His wolf stood just beneath the surface, restless and furious. Lyra froze. "I'm not running." "Then what do you call vanishing every time I get close?" His steps closed the distance. Deliberate. Predatory. "You rejected me in front of the pack, yet you can't hide from me. I feel you, Lyra. Every second. You're mine, no matter what lie you try to sell." Her throat tightened. She wanted to turn, to throw more cold words at him, but the truth burned too hot inside her now. "You don't understand. Then make me understand." His voice broke, fierce and ragged. "Tell me why. Tell me why you humiliated me. Why you push me away when your eyes betray you every time they find mine." Lyra's hands clenched at her sides, nails biting into her palms. Her wolf howled inside, aching to close the gap between them. His scent wrapped around her, cedar and storm, and it was unbearable. "You think I wanted to reject you?" Her voice cracked, trembling with a pain she had buried too long. "Every day I fight this bond, and every day it breaks me. But if I choose you, Cale, if I let this bond win, it will destroy you." His breath hitched, his fury faltering as something raw flickered in his gaze. Destroy me? Or save me? Tears blurred her vision. She shook her head, backing away, though her entire being screamed to go to him. "You don't know what you're asking." Cale's chest heaved, his hands curling as if he were fighting the urge to drag her into his arms. "Then tell me, Lyra. Tell me everything before this curse, this pride, rips us both apart." The air between them pulsed, thick with rage, longing, and a bond neither could sever. Her lips parted, words trembling on the edge, and then a howl split the night. Long, cold, a challenge. The blood moon had risen. The courtyard blazed with torchlight, shadows leaping across the ancient stone. Wolves pressed close, a sea of tense faces, their whispers a rising storm. Above them all, the blood moon loomed red and merciless, casting its curse over the night. Cale stood in the center, shirt discarded, his body marked with scars and the sheen of battle. His wolf stirred beneath his skin, restless, eager. Across from him, Dorian prowled, lips twisted in a smirk, his voice carrying easily through the charged air. "By blood moon law, I challenge you, Alpha." The words struck like lightning. The pack roared in disbelief, some with fury, others with doubt. But once spoken, the law was iron no alpha could refuse without appearing weak. Lyra stood on the edge of the crowd, her breath trapped in her chest, every muscle trembling. Her wolf clawed against her ribs, desperate to leap forward, desperate to shield him, but she was trapped by the truth she carried, by the fear that if she revealed it, everything would unravel. Cale's gaze slid briefly toward her. Just a flicker, but it was enough. She felt the bond surge, as if his very heartbeat echoed inside her. He was fighting not just for his title, not just for dominance. He was fighting for her. "Do you accept?" the elder intoned, voice gravelly with age. Cale's lips curled into something between a snarl and a smile. "I accept." The pack erupted in howls. The elder raised his hands. "Then, under the blood moon, let the challenge begin." Dorian shifted first, bones cracking, fur ripping through skin as his wolf larger than most, dark and feral, landed with a snarl. Cale followed, his body bending and breaking, his wolf exploding forward, silver and gold like fire given form. The clash was instant. Teeth met fur, claws raked stone, their snarls echoing across the night. Blood splattered against the ground as the two alphas fought for dominance. Lyra's vision blurred with tears. Every strike, every wound carved into Cale's body, she felt in her soul. The bond burned hotter, sharper, screaming for her to act. But if she revealed the truth, the curse would no longer be secret. The prophecy would awaken. And yet, if she stayed silent, Cale might not survive the night. The blood moon bathed the courtyard in crimson as Cale and Dorian crashed against one another, teeth bared, claws ripping through stone and fur. Wolves howled, circling the combatants, their fear and awe mixing with the scent of blood and magic in the air. Lyra's wolf surged inside her, desperate, screaming. She couldn't bear it. Every strike Dorian landed, every moment Cale's body faltered, felt like fire in her chest, like a thread snapping under unbearable tension. She had kept her secret for so long, her cursed bloodline, the prophecy that said claiming Cale could kill him, but now the choice was no longer hers to delay. With a trembling breath, she stepped forward, hands raised toward the chaos. Her bond flared, a silver fire connecting her to Cale, echoing every pain, every heartbeat. She let the curse within her rise, letting it burn through the fear, through the centuries-old warnings whispered by her ancestors. A scream tore from her throat, raw and pure. The air shimmered, waves of energy snapping through the courtyard, bending light, lifting dust, forcing wolves to their knees. Cale froze mid-strike, eyes wide as the bond between them flared bright as the moon. "Lyra!" His voice rang through the chaos, calling her name as if it were a lifeline. She didn't hesitate. The bond, the prophecy, the fear it all poured through her, reaching into him, shielding him, pushing Dorian back. The rival's snarl turned to a howl of pain as the power, unstoppable and undeniable, forced him to stagger, claws scraping uselessly against Kyle's defenses. Cale's wolf roared, responding to hers, sinking in perfect unity. Together, they surged forward, strength renewed, rage and destiny intertwined. With a final strike, Dorian collapsed, defeated. His challenge ended in the brilliance of the bond unleashed. Cale fell to his knees, breathing hard, golden eyes burning toward her. Lyra's chest heaved, exhausted, trembling, yet victorious. She had revealed the truth. She had risked the prophecy. She had unleashed the curse. And he was alive. His lips brushed hers, light and searing, claiming what had always been his. The bond hummed between them, unbroken, undeniable. For the first time, Lyra allowed herself to believe. Maybe destiny had been cruel, but love could break even the darkest chains. The pack gathered again, this time in stunned silence. The night air still smelled of battle, iron and sweat mingling with the faint scent of Lyra's unleashed power. Wolves whispered in awe and fear, but none dared speak against the alpha. Cale stood tall at the center, chest heaving, golden eyes blazing as he turned toward Lyra. Every wolf could see the fire in his gaze, the mix of pride, relief, and something far older, far deeper. "You've risked everything," he said, voice low but commanding, carrying across the silent courtyard. "For me, for us." Lyra lowered her eyes, heart hammering, fingers trembling at her sides. The bond throbbed between them, pulsing like a drumbeat she could feel in every fiber of her being. "I didn't want to lose you," she whispered, barely audible. Cale's wolf growled softly, demanding, protective. He stepped closer, the shadows retreating before him. "You never had a choice," he said, and in the tilt of his head, in the flare of his golden gaze, every wolf could see the truth. "You are mine, always have been, always will be." Lyra swallowed, the weight of fear and prophecy pressing down. "But the curse." Cale's hand lifted, cupping her cheek gently. "The prophecy tried to bind us, tried to make us afraid. But look at us now, alive, stronger. Nothing can undo what the bond has forged." Her lips trembled as he closed the distance. When his mouth met hers, it was more than a kiss, it was a claim, a promise, a seal upon every secret they had kept, every obstacle they had faced. The bond flared bright and steady, silver threads pulsing beneath their skin. The pack watched in silence, awe settling over them like a blanket. Even the elders, wary and cautious, could not deny it. This was fate fulfilled, a bond that had survived rejection, betrayal, and curse alike. Kale held her close, lips brushing her temple, golden eyes soft now, fierce in their devotion. You are mine, Lyra, and no prophecy, no rival, no fear can ever change that. For the first time, she let herself believe it. The chains of fear and secrecy fell away, leaving only what had always been true. They were mates, bound not by curse or challenge, but by destiny and love. And the pack knew this union was unbreakable.